Long before Emergence Day, Sera's darkest hour, the seeds of disaster were already buried deep within the planet. Beneath Sera's surface lay the Hollow, a labyrinth carved over millennia by colossal creatures called riftworms, a realm that would one day cradle something monstrous. As humanity advanced, they discovered emulsion, a strange, glowing liquid deep in the earth. Believing it to be the key to prosperity, they exploited it, sparking a brutal war. But emulsion was no ordinary resource. It was alive, and in humanity's blind pursuit of power, something began to stir below. In their drive for dominance, humanity overlooked the true consequences of their actions. Deep underground, a new force was forming. Genetic experiments, hidden research, and a disregard for the dangers of emulsion would give birth to a monstrous enemy. This is the story of how the Locust came to be, how humanity's ambition led to the creation of their greatest threat, and how the Hollow became the birthplace of a war that would nearly end them all. Hello my friends, I've been playing Gears of War since it first came out when I was a kid, and I grew up with it. It's truly one of my favorite series. I'm really excited for Gears of War E-Day. It feels like we're going back to the roots of the first three in the series. So what better time than now to go over the origins and the rise of the Locust. Enough said though, thank you all so much, let's get right into it. Before the Locust-Human War, before Emergence Day, the day that shattered humanity's world forever, and even before the creation of the Locust Horde itself, this story begins on the planet Sera. Sera was a planet, though bearing similarities to Earth, is entirely different, except for one crucial factor: the perfect conditions for life. This journey of life on Sera starts with massive ancient creatures known as riftworms. These titanic beings, reaching up to 10 miles in length, naturally burrowed through Sera's crust, shaping the subterranean landscape over millennia. Their relentless tunneling created the vast underworld known as the Hollow, which would eventually serve as the cradle of the Locust. As these godlike worms burrowed, they left behind this rich manure, fertilizing the subterranean regions and nurturing a diverse ecosystem within the Hollow. A vibrant world of plant and animal life thrived there, many creatures bearing reptilian traits akin to the riftworm itself. After countless millennia of activity, the riftworms went dormant, lying in wait beneath Sera's surface until the events of the Locust War. But by then their work was complete. They had laid the foundation for life in the Hollow, and perhaps more crucially, for the rise of emulsion, the planet's most valuable resource. Emulsion was a unique parasitic fungus, a living organism often compared to Earth's oil. But make no mistake, unlike oil, emulsion was alive. Deep within Sera's crust, it evolved into a parasitic organism that would eventually shape the destinies of both humanity and the Locust. To understand the origins of the Locust, we need to move forward thousands, perhaps millions of years, landing at roughly 117 BE, which is before Emergence Day. For centuries, humanity on Sera had been embroiled in constant warfare, nearly driving itself to extinction. But by 117 BE, humanity entered a golden age, often referred to as the Era of Silence. This was a time period when war was rejected entirely, and the Serans experienced flourishing advancements in arts, sciences, and culture. During this peaceful era, humanity first encountered emulsion, an unusual yellowish liquid discovered in a well-digging expedition. Initially though, emulsion appeared to have no real use. It was considered a scientific anomaly until Dr. Helen Cooper spearheaded research into it. Somewhere between the time period of 117 to 80 BE, Cooper's team discovered that emulsion could be transformed into an extraordinary fuel source using a process known as the light mass process. This discovery came at a time when humanity was experiencing a critical shortage of fuel, sparking an emulsion gold rush as people flocked to claim this valuable resource. In 79 BE, a global conflict ignited over control of emulsion, leading to the Pendulum Wars. The war was fought between the two main factions, the coalition of ordered governments, or we know them all as the Cogs, and the Union of Independent Republics. For decades, these two factions battled for control, leading to catastrophic losses on both sides. Emulsion mining continued throughout the Pendulum Wars, and soon miners began to show side effects of prolonged exposure to emulsion fumes. These workers suffered from a condition known as rust lung, a respiratory disease marked by a painful cough, difficulty breathing, fever, and joint pain. Rust lung was incurable and quickly spread among miners and refinery workers. In response, the COG established the New Hope Research Facility in 50 BE. It was led by Dr. Niles Sampson to secretly study children affected by rust lung, shielding the public from this growing crisis while keeping these children in secret.
Save the children. That's what they always say. In this case, we're truly doing it. Or at least we're giving it our very best shot.
What is this? Sounds like Niles.
At the New Hope facility, Dr. Sampson began injecting rust lung-infected children with emulsion, studying its effects on their physiology. He soon noticed that some cells mutated in ways he deemed beneficial. These experiments led to the birth of Mira, an extraordinary female child born in 58 BE, who showed remarkable immunity to emulsion. Mira's body displayed no cellular degradation, and emulsion exposure actually strengthened her immune system while slowing her aging by half. Sampson believed that genetic engineering could cure rust lung, but he needed more resilient DNA. He turned to the indigenous creatures of the Hollow, theorizing they held natural immunity to the emulsion. His experiments eventually led to the creation of the Sires, early human Hollow hybrids that were feral, mutated, and unstable. While some Sires did exhibit immunity to emulsion, most were violent and failed to survive. One notable exception was Ukon, the first stable sire who retained his mental capacity and even began to develop regenerative abilities. This success emboldened Sampson, who envisioned a new generation of super soldiers for the COGs to end the Pendulum Wars.
Long time ago, I got posted to a genetics lab. They were supposed to be curing rust lung. It went sideways. Instead of going after a cure, the doctors made monsters. Convinced Chairman Monroe the things had military potential. But they were feral, mindless. Except one. Ukon.
However, as the research grew more horrific, many at New Hope began to question its ethics, and when some scientists started getting attacked and killed by sires, many began leaving. COG officials soon uncovered the facility's dark secrets and shut it down with plans to indict and arrest those involved. But when COG soldiers arrived, several scientists, including Dr. Sampson, had vanished, along with several of the sire subjects.
The trip to Mount Kadar won't be an easy one. Not by any means. We'll have it moved during the night, in the snow. And Chairman Raam won't even authorize the use of vehicles to transport the subjects.
Subjects? Who's he talking about? Don't know.
Sampson's team relocated to a hidden laboratory where he continued his work by hybridizing sire DNA with embryonic stem cells from Mira. This experiment led to a breakthrough, the creation of the first Locust hybrid, a powerful female called the Matriarch, the original berserker of the Locust.
The Matriarch was generated from your grandmother's stem cells and sire DNA.
Using the Matriarch's genetics, the scientists were able to breed more locusts, and thus, the Locust Horde was born. These creatures shared a hive mind due to their connection to Mira's stem cells, making her their natural queen.
That allows them to learn, to grow. Without a queen, they remain unguided.
During these experiments, the locusts rapidly developed intelligence and culture, trained in combat and communication. This was thanks to the hive mind. Knowledge spread instantly among them, accelerating their development. Over time, the locusts desired independence, feeling like prisoners within the lab. These feelings greatly accelerated after Mira and Dr. Torres began a relationship and having their daughter, Reyna. After the birth of Reyna, Dr. Torres feared his daughter would be subjected to experiments since she shared her mother's similar immunity and connection to the hive. This led to Dr. Torres fleeing with their daughter, Reyna, to keep her out of harm's way, but Mira was not aware of their leaving.
One of my best geneticists. He fled with little Reyna because he no longer believed in our work.
Did Mira know where he took her?
I told Mira Reyna had perished in the escape attempt. I assumed that would end the matter. I greatly miscalculated.
Fleeing with their daughter Reyna to keep her out of harm's way, but Mira had not been told about this escape. Dr. Sampson, fearing Mira's reaction, lied to her, claiming Reyna and Torres had died in the escape attempt. This betrayal deepened Mira's resentment towards the scientist, and she began to see the Locust as her true family and children. With her newfound empathy for the Locust, Mira led a rebellion against the scientists in 30 BE, launching what would eventually become Emergence Day.
Let me guess. She led her children to slaughter you all.
The rebellion was brutal and effective, allowing the Locust to escape into the deeper hollow, where they would build their civilization far from humanity's reach. The atrocities committed at New Hope set the stage for a future that would lead to the deaths of billions. The Locust had now become a force to be reckoned with, and humanity remained oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface of Sera. After escaping captivity, Queen Mera and the Locust Horde established their capital, the Nexus, deep within the Hollow. Aware of the Riftworm's roles in shaping the subterranean world, the Locust developed a religion around these ancient creatures, known as the Trinity of Worms, worshipping them as gods. Mera began instructing the Locust to salvage and repurpose human technology to advance their society, forming a council to oversee social, political, scientific, and military matters. Realizing the need for growth and self-sufficiency, Mera returned to genetic engineering, using native hollow creatures to create weapons, vehicles, and war machines. Familiar beasts like the Brumax and Corpsers were not purely natural but were genetically modified by Locust scientists. Brumax, for instance, originated from a species of ape and were bred into the fearsome giants we know today. During this period, humanity remained oblivious to the Locust's existence, although rumors of monsters taking children in the night began circulating. But what were thought of as bedtime stories were actually Locust soldiers abducting humans from the surface. These captives were used in experiments, enslaved as laborers, or even fed to the hollow creatures. Despite the belief that the Locusts were immune to emulsion, around 17 BE, creatures in the Hollow began showing symptoms of Lambency, a mutation caused by emulsion infection. As I mentioned before, it's very easy to view emulsion simply as a resource, but it's better thought of as a living parasitic organism, akin to the Flood from Halo. While not as advanced as the Flood, emulsion's core nature as a parasite allowed it to infect and transform both hollow creatures and Locusts. Infected beings exhibited bizarre mutations with enhanced body parts that enabled them to infect others. As Lambency spread, the Locusts lost territory to these monstrous mutated creatures, sparking the Lambent War around 7 BE. Meanwhile, on the surface, the Pendulum Wars continued, creating the perfect cover for the Locusts to prepare for an inevitable clash with humanity. During this chaotic time, Mera led her people in a brutal campaign against the Lambent, but the Locusts suffered heavy casualties as the infection spread relentlessly. Lambent drones could easily repopulate by infecting others, making them a seemingly endless enemy. Amid this turmoil, Professor Adam Phoenix, father of Marcus Phoenix, was on a personal mission to find his wife, Elaine, a biologist who had vanished years earlier. Unknown to Adam at the time, when Elaine was studying emulsion in the rock shrews, she had discovered the existence of the Locust Horde around 9 BE. And while she intended to expose the truth about the Locusts, they killed her before she could reveal her true findings. Driven to uncover the mystery of her disappearance, Adam followed her notes and eventually found his way to Queen Mera in 5 BE after discovering the remains of his wife Elaine.
Is it true? You're the son of Adam Phoenix.
What's it to you?
He spoke highly of you. It's a shame that you didn't follow his path.
Mira, seeing potential in Adam, spared his life and revealed the dire situation of the Lambent War. She explained that the spread of Lambency was forcing her to consider a full-scale invasion of the surface, where humanity could either share the land or be exterminated. Horrified, Adam promised he would find a cure for Lambency if she agreed to keep the Locust underground.
Responsible, not sorry. It's my fault they're here, Marcus. I failed to stop the emulsion spreading all those years ago. It drove the Locust out of their warrens. I tried to persuade Mira to keep her people underground, but they couldn't.
Many Gears of War fans believed Emergence Day was simply an act of genocide, and while there is some truth to that genocide, it was more than that, being rooted in the Locust's desperate need to escape the Lambent threat. While Professor Adam Phoenix struggled to find a solution for Lambency, he was also tasked with competing the Hammer of Dawn for the Cog to help end the Pendulum Wars. Stretched to his limit, Adam did succeed in perfecting the Hammer of Dawn just in time to secure a victory for the Cog, ending the Pendulum War. However, he failed to find a cure for Lambency in time, and Queen Mira and her General Raam had already laid the groundwork for the invasion of Sera. 6 weeks after the Pendulum Wars ended, Queen Mira and General Raam launched their plans. The Locust invaded the surface, attacking every major city, an event now known as Emergence Day. In a single day, billions were killed, roughly 25% of humanity's population. That would be equivalent to over 2 billion lives lost on Earth. Cities were decimated, and those who survived were captured for dark purposes. The impact of Emergence Day was catastrophic, marking the beginning of humanity's struggle for survival against a relentless enemy. The Locust Horde, driven by desperation and the will to survive, brought the world of Sera to its knees in a single day of blood and horror.
By nightfall, hundreds of thousands were dead. Emergence Day had earned its name. Like many of you, I was only a child then. It was a dark, terrible time, and our victory was in no way assured.
The story of the Locust is a harrowing tale of survival, desperation, and the catastrophic consequences of human ambition. From the riftworms shaping the Hollow to the horrors of genetic experiments and the chaos of Emergence Day, every step on Sera's path was a march toward disaster. Yet within this tragedy lies a deeper question. Was humanity's greatest enemy truly the Locust, or was it their own hubris, their blind pursuit of power that sowed the seeds of their undoing? There's a quote from a man named Jonathan Swift. It goes, "Ambition often puts men upon doing the meanest offices, so climbing is performed in the same posture with creeping." Now, at first glance, you might think old Jonathan is retarded, but what this really means is that unchecked ambition often leads people to dishonorable means in their pursuit of success. And as we see here, the creation of the Locust Horde at New Hope became humanity's greatest folly, costing billions of lives. Gears of War has always been close to my heart. Marcus and Dom were not just great characters, but great role models for a lot of young men, me included, something that can feel rare in today's gaming market. Now, despite some of the series' weaker story moments, particularly in Gears 4 and 5, it's a franchise I will always cherish and appreciate. And with Gears of War E-Day on the horizon, I can't help but feel excited again for the Gears of War series. If you made it this far, first, I salute you, but truly I just want to thank you all. I've also seen a few comments about follow-ups to videos like the Flood or the Covenant. Those are all coming, along with some Gears and other videos. It just takes me a bit to get these out, but I promise they are coming. Other than that, I love you all. Noble out.
What have we got left now?
Tomorrow, Marcus. We finally got a tomorrow.